best to stick very close to what really took place during the late 70s and 80s. And the book is built on its premise of an event that actually took place in which the Soviet Union in the late 70s was just freaking out because they were losing their military superiority. And so they thought a way to get around it would be to steal the solid rocket formula that's being used by the Americans. Prior to that, if you wanted to have an offensive weapon, you needed to have something that was, your rockets were fueled all the time. And using a liquid fuelant, which they were using, we could tell when they were fueling those things up. They could be seen. And so you couldn't really get a head start on anybody. But we also knew that if they fueled up their weapons, there was a small window of time in which they had to either fire those things off or take the fuel back out. So they hoped that the solid fuel would solve that problem. But the book basically is a what-if situation in which we're saying, what if what they stole wasn't what they thought they were getting? So it kind of builds from there. So I had a lot of fun with that. So I'd like to read the preface. Is this working okay? Yeah. George Taylor felt pain that was beyond imagination. The stench was strong, and the chilling dampness was everywhere. He almost welcomed death. Yet an innate force within him told him to pass it all on. He had to give them time. He had to get the documents to stiff on. With a controlled effort, he moved his right arm and looked at his illuminated dial of his watch, wristwatch, 11 o'clock. The last time he looked, it had been 9 or 9:30. He only had enough painkillers to maintain consciousness for another 4 hours. He found himself thinking of his home, warm, dry, and secure. His life there seemed an eternity ago. Why had he agreed to help Stefan? Another surge of pain killed all thought, and he was back to reality of the present. George shivered from the cold. He was half sitting and partially reclining on a canvas cot, propped up against the cold brick and mortar wall within an 8x8 room which now housed him. His 6 foot, 180-pound body was not designed for this particular room. Really not a room, more of a closet that had been sealed and cut off from a larger room within an unoccupied storage building. The building was located in one of the oldest parts of Moscow, facing a parade staging area near Red Square. Situated on Ultra Panotsky, it was no more than a minute's walk from the Budapest Hotel. The area became a favorite tourist spot during the day, but at this hour, it belonged to the forgotten horde of homeless men and aging prostitutes. George had been briefed about this hidden room as an emergency extraction point, accessed from behind a roll of garbage dumpster at the back of an alley. It was one of 2 possible pickup locations. This site, unfortunately, had the distinction of being the last resort location. The room consisted of 4 walls without windows, and was completely void of any internal lighting. Several bricks in the wall facing the alley were actually not bricks at all. They were glass blocks that allowed George to peer out into the alley, and this one-way viewing portal was also the only source of light entering the room. The design of this hidden room had been clever, but did nothing to improve the accommodations for its occupants. George wasn't alone in this room. A somewhat large and menacing cat was there when he arrived. The cat refused to vacate, and George, in his present condition, decided to conserve his energy and let the cat stay. The cat settled in one corner of the room, squatting ever ready to pounce while maintaining its piercing glare. George imagined the cat had questions of him. Who are you? What would bring you to the porch to the cat talk? And when are you going to get out of here so I have my space back? George grinned at the idea of explaining to a cat why and how he found himself in this hole. Yet quietly talking to the cat, George realized he was doing just that, explaining his presence. He decided the cat's name was Jake, and he had no intentions of making the cat a permanent part of his life. George was now directly addressing the cat. Jake, he said, just be cool. This is just a short stopover for me. You keep your space and I'll keep mine. George certainly hoped he was right. Remembering who he was and what he had become involved in only reinforced the fact that this was not what he had signed up for. Questions?